we are going to continue on with text features. Informational text or nonfiction text is just as important as literacy or fiction. But there are different ways to be able to comprehend or understand an informational piece of text. Our text features, which we touched on yesterday and we're continuing with today, will help you comprehend or understand an informational or nonfiction book, source, passage, article, magazine. If you understand that, please give me a thumbs up. Anthony, do you understand what I just said? Then what did I ask for? Thank you, Anthony. So, hands down, please. So we're going to review different types of text features. And these are all text features that we find in different types of informational or nonfiction text. Please be aware. Yes? No? Not wanting? What? We're leaving it on. I'm not worrying about that. Thank you. I apologize. Please be aware. Excuse me for a moment, because she's got her microphone on. Okay. Thank you. Please remember that you are not going to find every single piece, every single text feature in a book. You're going to find some of them, but for your level of reading, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade levels, you're not going to find every single text feature. And I need my Madison and my Kaya to turn their entire bodies around facing my board, not leaning against my desk. Thank you. So let's start off with titles. I need all eyes on my board, please. Thank you. Now please remember, the titles are at the top of the page in the text. But I would like to point out to you, sometimes you might even find the title in the middle of your cover. Maybe even on the bottom of the cover. Stop and leave it. Thank you. So please remember that the title is going to tell you what the book is about, or what an article is about, or what the chapter is called or is about. Now, just like there's titles, there are also subtitles. Excuse me. And they're going to tell you more about the title. The words that you see for a subtitle are going to be in smaller print. The title will always, or in most cases, be in larger print. And they are usually underneath the title. Now, I'm going to skip this one for now because what we're doing is we are working in a book. When we get into using our Chromebooks, we'll talk more about hyperlinks. Now, this one is a timeline. And if we remember, we've seen a timeline that is vertical, that goes up and down. As we see here, timelines do go left and right. And they are going to start with the earliest date on the left-hand side. And a timeline is going to show you the order of when things happen. For example, we see Mrs. Smith was born in 1979. Then she finished elementary school. Then she finished middle school in 1993. In 1997, she finished high school. So it's telling us the order of the events in her life. I will wait for your shoe to be back on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are not taking off clothes in my classroom. Thank you. And again, this is a little quick review. So our next one, and I think we're going to see this a little bit more, you're going to be seeing maps. And sometimes you might see one map, or you might see more than one map in a text, or a book, or a source that you are reading. And a map shows where something is in the world. And you might see a map just of a state, or just of a country. So there are different types of maps. And as I pointed out, there are charts. This is the one we talked about before, the pie chart. Remember how it looks with pieces taken out in triangles for cut pieces. Please remember a chart organizes the information so that it can be seen in a new way. Anthony, get your hand out of your boot, face forward, legs under your desk, please. Thank you. I apologize. Now we're going to go on to some more text features, and this is a quick review. I would like us to start working on using them to help us understand, but we do need to do this review. So my friends, remember you're going to run across photographs, and please remember photographs are real pictures. They are taken with a camera. So they are of something real, of a person, of a bug, of a building, of an animal. That is what a photograph is. Then we're going to come to illustrations. Remember, illustrations are drawings or sketches that are done by hand. And they might be sketches of something that was real, but there was no photograph around for them to use, or they were not able to take a picture of it. And sometimes, for example, in this picture right here, we all know dinosaurs were real, but there are no living dinosaurs. So please sit up. So we cannot take a picture of a real dinosaur. They have been gone for thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of years. So we are unable to take a picture. So this person used an illustration that they drew. Now, we have our caption, and this is the one thing I noticed that we had a little bit of trouble with. Remember, a caption is a sentence or two that describes or tell us what is in the picture. So if we see on our screen, we have a turtle. And if you look at the green arrow, I apologize, the tortoise, you look at the green arrow, it says this tortoise moves slowly across the grass. It enjoys sitting in the shade and eating leafy plants. Two sentences to describe what is happening or what the animal or person is doing in the photograph. And again, you might run across this in illustrations. And remember, these text features, if you just saw the picture, we might not know, excuse me, we might not know what's happening in the photograph. So if you see that picture, you're not going to have a complete understanding. You're not going to be able to completely understand what that section or that chapter or that article is about if we don't understand how to use our text features and how they help us. Now this is the one you all said, ooh, yucky at in the other day. Because remember, a close-up gets you really, really close in to see something that we might not be able to see with our eyes. So this is a close-up of termites, which are and I'm going to say it, a very yucky insect, bug. And in all honesty, you would not necessarily see a termite. Our human eyes are not always that great. So that is a close-up of what a bunch of them look like. Or you can think about this way. If I was using a microscope, it would give me a close-up. Now, also, this is another one I noticed that we ran into a little bit of trouble. And this one I want you to pay special attention to. Because remember, you have your article. You have your passage. You have your source. You have your book. And there's a bunch of information. But that text box provides you extra information about what you are reading. And it's usually in the shape of a rectangle. It might be a big rectangle, it might be a small rectangle, but they're going to tell you either more information about the topic you're reading or something that is similar. I'm going to skip this because we don't have our Chromebooks out for this activity, but we will get back to this. And remember our bullet points. And somebody asked me about this yesterday, so I wanted to make a little clarification. It's going to be in a box or maybe even a rectangle. But the bullet points, you see the little dots in front? That's going to help. The bullet points are going to help us organize information into a list. But remember, Anthony, true. This is the third time I have talked to you. You have just lost 2 points for not paying attention and distracting your classmates. I apologize. So please, if you see an X with an X in front of words and it's a list, those are still bullet points. They might see arrows. You might see circles. You might see circles that are filled in. You might see little stars. But they are still bullet points. It's just the author chose to use something other than dots. So don't let that trip you up when you're trying to understand why they're organizing that information. And we have a couple more to go. And I think we've all have seen this. So if you have seen bold print or bold words, please raise your hand. I should see every hand. Mickey, have you? Have you seen bold print, sweetheart?
Yeah.
Perfect, because that is something that is very common. And in most of the informational texts or passages or sources or articles we read, we do run into that. And remember, the bold is going to be the thicker, darker, heavier words. And they're going to show you important information. And remember something. Please sit up. If I ask you a third time, you will be losing 2 points as well. Thank you. I apologize. Please remember that sometimes these bold words might be found in the glossary because they're important words that we want to know. Now the italics words we're going to run into as well. They're a little bit harder to see because they are not darker. They're just they're slanted and they look a little bit different than what we are reading normally. So if we look at this, the fish lives in warm water. Who can tell me which one of those words is in italics? Madison.
And the one warm after warm.
The word tropical, she is absolutely right. Because if you look, it's a little slanted. And please remember, the italics words are also important words. Now our diagram. Now we're going to see diagrams. Again, it might not be in everything we read. But remember, diagrams could be of an object like a microscope. A diagram could be a diagram of the inside of a frog like we saw the other day. But it's a simple drawing which shows us the parts or the functions of something, for we understand how it works. And if you notice, we have words next to our diagrams. We have arrows. They might be lines, they might be arrows, but those are labeling the parts of that diagram. Because if we just saw a microscope, would we honestly know where the mirror is or the base is? Those labels, please stop. Those labels help us to understand what we're seeing, what the parts are, and then how it will work. Because microscopes in much of our nonfiction texts, that might be Anthony. Point number 3. Thank you, Anthony. In our nonfiction text, sometimes the cutaways that you might be seeing might have been taken with a microscope. And we've already talked about charts, but please remember graphs. They're very similar to the graphs we talked about in math. They are going to provide us information. Because when we're reading, we need that information to help us understand what they might be talking about. And that is how the graph organizes that information so we can see maybe if there's more types of poisonous frogs than non-poisonous frogs. Again, I'm just using frogs because that's what we discussed the other day. And we've also discussed our tables. I almost said tablets. Sorry about that. I was suddenly thinking of tablet. I don't know why. So remember, our table is another way we're going to organize written information. You're going to have a title. And unfortunately, my pointer doesn't work today. Would you do me a favor, Madison? Please stand up. Go up to the board. Please point at the green words. That is going to be that's your title of your table. And you're usually going to see a title. Thank you very much, Madison. Thank you. And underneath our table, our title is our table. And in this table, we are split into 3 categories. They organize it into soccer, basketball, and swimming. And then underneath it, they organize it into who likes what. And I would like us to remember, since we're going to be using books for our activity today, so we're going to be keeping an eye out for them. Remember, inside of our book, after we have turned our cover, we're going to find a title page. And on our title page, it's going to inform you of the title again. It's going to inform you or tell you who the author is, tell you who the illustrator is, the person who has drawn some of the illustrations, and it's going to tell you who the publisher is. Now this is another one you're going to find in the beginning of the book, and we've talked about this many times. I need to make sure you remember how to use this, because this is going to help you narrow down what you are looking for. If you have a big book that's, say, like 50 pages, 60 or 100, and you need to find a chapter about a specific thing, your table of contents can help you. It's going to tell you, the reader, what page each section is, or each chapter begins. Here it's saying chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, but if we were talking about frogs, we could do life cycles. We could do poisonous, non-poisonous. So you might see words, or you might see numbers. And if you remember, I mentioned bold words. The glossary is where you're going to find some of those bold words, because the author makes these words bold, for you know, oh, this is a word that I may not know, and I need to go look it up so I can comprehend or understand what I am reading better. Aiden, please sit up. Thank you. It's going to provide you definitions, meaning what the word means. It could also tell you how to pronounce the word, because some of the words can be difficult to pronounce. And I even still use a glossary at times. And our index is also found at the back of our book. This is going to include keywords. It's going to tell you what page you can find information about a specific topic. For example, if I wanted to learn about the insect, the dragonfly, what 2 pages could I go to, Ryan?
14 and 17.
Perfect. So I would turn to page 14, read what it says, maybe have to go back to the glossary to look up a word. Once I understand that or comprehend that, then I would go on to the next page. Because it is telling you which pages provide you the information that you need to read to help you understand or comprehend the information about a dragonfly. Not going to worry about our electronics. So, my friends, what I want you to do, I need all eyes on me, please. So my people in the front, please turn around and look at me. Please sit up. So, may I borrow this, sweetheart? Sorry, sweetie. How are you feeling? I know, sweetie. As soon as Mom gets here, we'll get you to the dentist. As I said, this is our non-fiction, non-text feature, Hunt. What I need you to do, when I ask you to, you are going to come up to Lacey's desk. I have a pretty good amount of non-fiction books. Some of them will have, oops, there we go, more than one text feature on the page. Some of them, some of them may only have one text feature, or an entire page might be a text feature. But you might need to choose more than one book. but you will only take one book at a time. It says readers use text features to locate important information. Remember, finding that important information and being able to understand, read, analyze, discuss that text feature will help you better understand, better comprehend your nonfiction text, your nonfiction passage, source, or another word would be informational. As I said at the top, is the example of the text feature I need you to find. Some will require you to find 2 examples, and some will require you to find 3 examples, and a couple only need 1. Please remember, I need the name of the book, the title of the book. The title, we've already discussed where to find it. I need it spelled correctly because, again, you are going to have the book, so there is no reason why the title is spelled incorrectly. I'm also going to need you to please give me a page number because I'm going to go back into these. I'm going to take this pile of books home with me and these, because this is going to take us more than one day, and I'm going to go through them. I am going to look for your title. I'm going to pull it out. I'm going to go to that page. When you tell me the text feature you found, like for example, a photograph, I found a photograph of, let's say, somebody says, a dog. And I better be finding a photograph of a dog on that page. Then you are going to explain to me, how does this text feature help you as the reader understand? Aiden, please sit up. Understand. Or how does it help you comprehend what you are reading? If you understand that, please give me a thumbs up. I need my friends who are on the floor to please go to your desks. I do have more books if we need them, but since we happen to have a couple people absent today, I did not take out more, but I can. I do ask you to treat the books with respect. I will call a row editor, actually about 2 people at a time. Again, you might need to go to more than one book, but you first must find a text feature in the first book that you have. And remember, not every book is going to have every text feature. If we understand my directions, please give me a thumbs up. Thank you. Is there anyone who has any questions? Yes, Aiden? You raise your hand and I'll come to help you. We always raise our hand. But any other questions? Thank you. Why don't we start with row number 4? I'm going to trust you as a group of 4 to walk up and grab a book.